Thank you for joining me this evening. So awesome. So thrilled that you guys are here. Um, I'm always excited that everybody gets to go follow along and be part of the show. So, man, thank you so much, everybody who's watching this evening. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, just for spending time and, you know, again, being interactive, being a part of the community that hopefully I'm building with everybody who watches the show and kind of, follows along. So if this is your first time watching the show, I'm going to get all the particular stuff out of the way. We are streaming live across multiple platforms. So if you're watching us live on YouTube, or if you would like to, you can catch us there at our YouTube channel, and that is Made from Scratch Broadcast on YouTube. And that is at www.youtube.com/the letter C/Made from Scratch Broadcast. If you're watching live there, do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe button, and then also hit the bell, get notifications whenever we do drop new content and new videos come out, or when we're going live, so you'll know that we are streaming there. So guys, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And then you can also follow us along on our Facebook page, and that is at the same name, Made from Scratch Broadcast, there as well. So drop it down in the comments and let me know that you're watching there, and I would greatly appreciate it. We'll pull up the comments. We can interact with them now. And again, if you have questions for this evening's guest, just let us know and I'll pull it up on the screen. And then we're also streaming on my Facebook page under my profile, and that's at Gabriel Leal. So if you're not connected with me there, go ahead and connect. I appreciate it. I always accept friend requests. And if you're on our page, hit the like button. It'll let us know whenever there's a new live show coming out, and you'll get a notification prior to us going live. And then we're also streaming live via Periscope on Twitter. So if you're watching us on Twitter, or if you want to find us there, it is at MFSB Live on Twitter. Again, drop your comments in there below, and we can pull them up and bring them up interactively while we're talking during the show. And of course, guys, we are streaming on LinkedIn Live. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, let us know. Drop it down in the comments. We're going to try something out, because apparently LinkedIn now has given StreamYard the ability to at least pull up live video. Or not live video, but you're able to pull up live comments, if that makes sense. So I kind of saw that this afternoon, and it kind of, let's see. I don't even see where I'm live. Oh well. Okay, well, if you're watching live on LinkedIn, let me know. And then Mike Padurano, what's up, brother? And then I'm streaming live on doing a little bit what I've done before with Instagram. I am streaming live on Instagram. It's just one way you can only see me, though. I know, but you'll get to see behind the scenes. You can hear what I'm talking about. I'm looking and talking to you on Instagram as well. Drop your comments if you have anything for this evening's guest. So, guys, thank you so much, everybody, for joining along. Oh, yeah, check out the website as well. And that is at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. We do stream live there as well. You can also check out past episodes of the show. You can also check out the podcast form via our links to Anchor and Spotify. We are also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a few other podcasting hosting services as well. And also we are we're also got a internet radio station where I'm building that up as well. I will be streaming past episodes of the audio on there, and then hopefully at some point have live DJs doing live podcasts on there as well. These are all things that are in the works, but awesome. So guys, if you're watching, check it out. This is the first time for me. I'm going to just pull them up on the screen. These are comments actually rolling in from LinkedIn. So Francine Sinclair, thank you so much. So Kenneth Dunner, my man. Awesome. Thank you, LinkedIn, for finally being able to do this. We've been waiting so long as live streamers who have the ability to stream on LinkedIn Live to pull up comments, see everybody that's on there, and they're able to see it on the show. So, guys, thank you so much. I hear you loud and clear, too. Thank you, my brother, Kenneth Dunner. You're always great support. Thank you, Esmeralda. Thank you, Mike, watching on Instagram. So, guys, awesome. So, let me go ahead and get into this evening's guest. What am I talking about? Okay, so she is a serial entrepreneur who has, um, right now because of COVID-19, she's actually staying in a Airbnb. But before that, she was living in an RV with her husband and traveling across the country. She's a speaker, content creator, and an author in a book. So she's got a book that she's working on called The Status Quo. Um, Hopefully it will be out here in the summer of 2020. She had plans to do it earlier, but again, everybody's plans got thrown aback because of this pandemic. So, um, understandable as far as, hey, trying to meet deadlines and having to change everything around because, again, her and her husband weren't anchored anywhere. They were actually living in an RV, going from different places, traveling, doing different experiences, and that's a lot of things that she'd love to share. So, and they've been able to work remotely, which is pretty awesome that they were able to do that. So, guys, do me a favor and help me welcome Glenda Hoon Russell to the show. Hey, Glenda,
Hi,
how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing awesome. So, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on and have a nice conversation with me. So, this is one of the best things about putting together a show like this. I get to find people like yourself who have a really interesting story. So, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started putting together the status quo and traveling, that sort of thing. So kind of walk us through that a little bit. Let us find out a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always like to start out with the two milestones that basically started this whole journey and our decision to live in an RV. But back in 2013, my father passed away from a neurological degenerative disease.
Oh.
And if you can imagine this just healthy, normal person go from in 6 years from a normal functioning person to a lucid vegetable. I mean, the disease took all of his voluntary abilities and then eventually took his involuntary abilities, such as breathing and eating. I mean, he became mute for about 2 years and couldn't use his hands, couldn't take a shower, couldn't drive. I mean, he lost all of his independence. So watching him go through that death and grieving while he was still alive was a huge impact on my life. And then 3 years later, my mom passed away from my mom passed away from a heart attack suddenly, just out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So after these two events happened, I remember my husband and I looking at each other, and we basically said, what are we doing? What are we doing and beforehand we had been working corporate jobs. I had my own business at the time, but I was working it like, just a mad woman. I mean, working till late in the evenings, working weekends, holidays. It was all about the hustle. And I didn't have a life outside of work, and neither did my husband. And just seeing my parents go through a disease that took away all of his abilities, all of my father's abilities, and then going through the heart attack with my mom, where one day she's perfectly fine and the next day she's gone.
Oh, yeah.
It had such a huge impact. And so my husband and I had been talking about doing something special for a long time. We both knew that we were the type of people who were going to incorporate adventure in our life, but we always put it in the future that, okay, later in life, we'll do this later in life. And so luckily, when my husband and I first got married, we went through the Dave Ramsey course, the financial
It's on Peace
course.
Universe. Yes, I'm very well of that. I was a big believer and still am in Mr. Ramsey's teachings.
Yeah. Oh, his course is amazing. And it it was such a great way for my husband and I to get on the same page, to start developing goals together, and to get rid of about $80,000 worth of debt.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. Wow.
So school was not cheap.
Yeah, that's right.
So
So,
we just, luckily we had gone through that program and gone through several years of being determined to be debt free.
yeah.
And then after that, we had the freedom to save, basically, to save money, because in Dave's program, Dave Ramsey's program, he teaches you how to manage your money, how to save your money so you can work towards goals. And to me, that was incredibly powerful, because even though we didn't have these set goals of living in an RV, getting out of debt gave us the freedom to be able to do those, to fulfill that dream. So, because I think a lot of people, they automatically assume because I lost both my parents that I received this large sum inheritance, which was not the case. I mean, we did receive a little money from the sale of the house, but that was it. This was all on Chris and I, my husband, that we had saved for this.
Yes.
So we just decided that we wanted to sell everything we had and move into an RV without even knowing a single thing about RV.
Oh, that's jumping in. That's jumping in feet first, right? Head first, going for it.
My therapist did not recommend this.
I can imagine that conversation. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we just followed through with it, and really we just made one decision and then went to the next one, made another decision and went to the next one. We just kept going. And even if it was something completely new to us, we were determined to follow through on this. And my husband and I had this rule that every 6 months we check in with each other. We say, are you still having fun? Are we still enjoying this? Are we still financially able to do this? Just so we can often check in with each other, because I think it's so easy for us to get into autopilot. I mean, it's that comfortable stage of not having to take a lot of risks, and it's in those risks that we grow and we experience and we remember things, and we have failures, and we've had a lot of failures. But yeah, so that's how we started our RV adventure, and we've been traveling since 2017, and we just happen to be in an Airbnb currently during COVID.
And again, that's that was one of the questions that I, of course, wanted to ask you before we came on, was how has that been for you? Because again, you've been, for the last 2 years, essentially about 2.5 years, you've been used to traveling all the time and going, that sort of thing. So what has it been like to be just stationary again? I mean, so here's some of the questions that I was thinking about. So what are some of the advantages about traveling like that in an RV, and what are a few of the disadvantages as far as I don't know, traffic? I'm just wondering, because again, that's a pretty big endeavor to take on and say, hey, we're going to sell everything and let's go travel. Because again, you hear people say this all the time. You hear people, when we get older, we're going to sell everything. We're just going to buy an RV and we're going to travel. But not a lot of people follow through. So kind of walk me through that, and tell me, again, what are some of the things you've discovered that you've learned going along this whole journey?
Yeah. So I'll start with your question of what are the advantages and disadvantages?
Okay. Yeah. Let's start there.
Perfect. So some of the advantages is I'm from Houston, Texas. So very flat, very, I adore Houston because of its diversity. I mean, talk about one of the most diverse cities in the world. I mean, in the restaurants and the people, and I love that about Houston.
Yes.
But it's flat and it's boring in a sense that there's not a lot of nature around. Yes. You have to drive to the hill country, and So that was one thing that was really missing from my life, was being connected with nature. And living in an RV, one of the advantages is to just be able to say, well, next month, do we want to go to the mountains? Do we want to go to a beach? Do we want to be near a lake? And
Yeah.
so that freedom to move around is really beautiful. That's definitely an advantage, that we have been able to see so many different places. And if we don't like a place, then we can move. And that's the wonderful thing about it.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome though. That's again, just to wake up out of the blue one day and say, you know what? Let's go to Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of walk us through some of the disadvantages that you kind of found along this path.
Yeah, I'd say a disadvantage would be that this isn't a 24/7 vacation. I think that we tend to romanticize things we don't really know about, which is exactly what I did when I first thought of RVing. I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to be camping all the time. And the truth is that we work kind of normal jobs. I mean, we work from 8 to 5, and in the evenings, if there's still daylight, we'll go for a short hike, or we will, especially on the weekends, is when we get to play and actually do a lot more hiking. But there's still RV maintenance. I mean, we have an older RV.
Yeah.
It's what we could afford. And I love it and I'm proud of it. But it breaks down all the time. So Pocono Mountains. Ooh, I've never been there before.
Yeah.
Where's that, David? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Drop that in the comments, David. Let us know where that is. Maybe she'll have to go see that.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So that's kind of crazy though. Learning these things, because again, like you said, you kind of romanticize certain things. You go, oh wow, this is going to be amazing. Like people who, I'm going to go live in Italy for a year, or and it's going to be beautiful. There's going to be Italian food all the time. There's going to be the mountain. There's going to be the seaside, and of course, they get out there 7 months into it. They go, oh wow, and again, but it's at least something that you're working on writing a book about. So kind of walk us through a little bit about what that experience has been, and what's the basis of what you're sharing in your upcoming book coming out in a couple months, I understand that a lot of things were put on hold for a lot of people because of COVID-19. So kind of lay it out a little bit. Let us know what that's about.
So my book is called The Status Foe, and foe is FOE. And I called it the status foe because I believe that the status quo is the enemy to living the life you truly deserve.
Yes.
And the reason is that throughout this RV journey and watching both my parents pass away and all of going through 4 different layoffs that my husband and I have been through, we've just been through a few different experiences that have been life-changing. And it's been, David, very cool. I have yet to visit Pennsylvania, but one day.
One day, there you go.
Yeah.
So
it just brought to the surface a lot of different behaviors and emotions that I've been experiencing in my past life when I was more on autopilot. And what the RV life has done for me, and also my study of Buddhism, my study of Stoicism, has really brought to light that I am more in control of my life than I think. That, yes, I absolutely believe in a God and He is the ultimate creator. However, He gives us this power of choice. And through that power of choice, you and I, every single day, are just given the opportunity to make a million different decisions. And are those decisions in line with our values? Are those decisions in line with our goals? And I think this is where the status quo starts to analyze, where are we making decisions on autopilot? Because maybe our culture influenced us in a certain way. Maybe our parents influenced us, or whoever raised us influenced us in a certain way. And so what I'm trying to do is encourage people to dive in deep and figure out, are they living out the behaviors in the life that they want to live? Or are they living a life based on someone else's wants? You know, if they're chasing the big house, big money, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But when those things own you and control you, that's when it gets really dangerous, because you're not living your authentic self. And so I pull back the layers on several different topics of just analyzing where you can look at in your life if you're making intentional decisions, basically.
Yeah. So, what you've been talking about, and this is why I tell everybody, whenever we do talk about certain things like, I don't know, spirituality, I tell everybody, your path to enlightenment is your path, and doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you start going on that journey and discovering that is what really touches and resonates with you. So again, spirituality, I don't think you can just go, oh, it's this one thing. I think that's where you start getting into the idea of people being too judgmental. I actually had a conversation today with a woman who, again, will be on the show later on, but she grew up in an Amish community. And one of the reasons she left was because of the judgment that was really strict about, whether or not, one of the examples she used was whether or not God was going to love me if I had black socks on. So, just these things that kind of, again, like you were saying, we wake up every day with that choice. We give it, it's the God-given choice that we get. I'm just going to drop this in here for you. I think you'll find this funny. Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
David's a cool guy. I just met him, but he's doing interesting things with cooking. He does a cooking show, and
awesome.
He does things to kind of teach people how to cook who are like on dialysis. So, really help. Yeah. So really, really, really deep, really great things that he's doing, and he's building a whole non-for-profit thing around it. So definitely, if you have not reached out to David Pollock, please do. And Summer, yes, she is a romantic. You romanticize certain things.
Yep. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So a lot of great things. God is good. Yes.
Yes.
This is what I like about people. They add these into the comments. But so going into like what we were talking about and what you were saying, as far as your journey, I think this is why I highlight people who come on here and have a different aspect about it, because again, you can be positive and still be. This is what inclusion and diversity means. So we are all loving of everybody, and we are all accepting of everybody. And that's the wonderful thing about having these kind of talks and these interviews and these conversations. You learn these things, for what we're doing. And, kind of even what you've kind of done with your journey and your path, you're out there doing it a different way by helping people learn that, you don't have to be conventional to have a wonderful, happy life. Again, you don't have to feel like kind of like what Kelsey was saying, you don't have to have the cookie cutter white picket fence. You don't have to have those sort of things. You can have a life that suits you and still be happy and still connect with people. So, prior to, of course, everything that happened with COVID. So what were some of the things that you were doing to reaching out to, say, like entrepreneurs and that sort of thing, and helping them kind of grow and develop their businesses. So walk us a little bit through that, because I always like to hear how people come at a certain problem or situation and can address it and help people grow, because we all have different ways of doing that. So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So your question is what?
Well, it's like, as far as helping entrepreneurs and going
Okay.
out there and speaking and doing these things to people, what are some of the things that you can add as far as like value to an entrepreneur who comes to you and say, hey, Glenda, I know that you've done these certain things. You've started a business. Kind of walk me through a little bit about how you can help me grow as well, because I need help, and I see that what you've done and what you've created is along the lines of what something I want to reach out and do. So kind of walk us through a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'd say the first general tip would be to learn how to manage money. I think that it's incredibly powerful to, first of all, personally learn how to manage money and to get money right. And in part of my book, I talk about changing our relationship with money. And because I used to think, oh, money is evil, and money is the result of all of our problems. And whereas now the way that I see money is that it's a means to exchange, and
Yes.
it's a way for me to achieve my goals. Because living in a modern society, unless you live out in the forest eating squirrels and nuts and wearing a loincloth, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to have money, right?
Yes.
So we might as well change and adapt our relationship with it to be a positive one and to work in our favor. So I think healing that part of whatever your parents, whoever raised you, whatever their insecurities that they taught you with money that's gone into your subconscious. And nowadays you're thinking, oh, well, I'll never have enough money to do traveling. I could never live on a remote island and work, off my laptop on a beach every day. And the thing is these things are possible. You just have to plan it. And I truly believe that the first step is learning to manage your money. And I'm in no way being endorsed by Dave Ramsey, but that's such a great way to start, because his program is so easy in a sense to understand.
Yeah.
It's a very step by step. And so it's really just, do you have the desire, and do you have the ability to follow through on all of his tips?
Yeah. And again,
So
that's and again, I find that so it's so awesome that you're talking about him, because again, I've been a big follower of his for a very long time. I do like the idea of being debt free. The one thing that he says is the you know the lender is always slave to the debtor, so or reverse. He's always saying stuff like that, and of course, he bases a lot of his principles, spiritually, what he, giving. He incorporates all these things into what you give your 10% to tithing, give generously when you have the ability to do it. So I love the fact that you follow that along, and I think that's one of the keys to having health and having a happy life is saying, I don't have I don't have that weight of having debt and having weight of how I'm going to figure out how to pay the bills, or how are we going to get through this next month. Because again, those sort of things, if they get into your mind mentally, they can really do some damage to you.
mhm, yeah.
They make people sick. They make people just thinking about these things. If you have anxiety, if you have depression, a lot of these things are onsets of money, because they're worried, and these are all things that get introduced in there. But um, I kind of. Well, let me pull this up. I had to pull this up. What a comment.
That's funny.
Kenneth, yes. David, no problem for the shout out, my friend. Anytime. I love what you're doing, and we'll talk some more. But again, yeah. So the 6 P's: proper planning, prevention,
That's right.
poor presentation. Yes. So,
Yep.
kind of walk us through. You do a workshop, and what are some of the things that you teach to people who want to reach out to you and are interested in learning about, how you can help them grow, develop, and implement a lot of these things that you're talking about into their lives?
Yeah. So one of the workshops that I do is called the Ideal Day. And this is one of the preliminary workshops that I do. And the thing is we live in this culture that doesn't promote very much the individual to work on hobbies, to have things that they enjoy. I mean, yes, it's promoting for you to go buy those things. We live in a very consumer-driven society, but it's not saying, Gabriel, if you enjoy drawing Star Wars caricatures, by all means, go do this and run a business with it. And it's saying, no, that's not a viable
Yeah.
career. You need to go into banking, and that's where you're going to make a lot of money. So I think one of the things that's missing is figuring out what you enjoy again. And because we're all in this routine of the everyday of waking up, going to work, coming home, opening up that beer, opening up that bottle of wine, having your drinks, doing whatever with the kids, maybe dinner, putting them to bed. And then what do? You sit on the couch with Netflix. And then you do that all over again and all over again. And I don't know about you, but I was tired of that. That was just, that to me was not the life that I was being called to live. And so but one of the first steps that I did was exactly in this Ideal Day exercise and it's so simple, but it's so profound. So in one column, you write down your current day. And I know that because of COVID right now, all of our current days are not typical.
Yes.
But
exactly.
Especially with being at home with kids and schoolwork and stuff. But writing down in detail what your day looks like, what your normal day looks like. And I mean, be specific. From when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? Do you feel groggy? Do you moan and not, press the snooze button 500 times and, go get a cup of coffee and begrudgingly put on clothes and then run out the door so you're not late to work? And, be really specific about those things and write them down. Go step by step. If you commute to work, do you enjoy that commute? Are you pressing the radio button just to get through all the commercials? Or are you listening to something that you enjoy? I don't know. I can go into that forever, but getting really detailed is really important. And then in the next column, have fun with this and just write down your ideal day. If you were to wake up, what would you wake up to? Would you wake up to your kids making you breakfast in bed, or your husband bringing you coffee, or however that looks for you? Write that down, and again, being really specific in both columns, but then compare what it is, how you're actually living, to the life that you want to live, and really take a look at it. And what I did with this is I put this up on my refrigerator so I saw it every single day. And I would think, God, if I just make this little change to my ideal day from my current day, I can make this little change. And one of my first changes was downsizing and minimizing my home when I was living in a home at that time, and getting rid of a lot of the clutter and things that were stressing me out. So I crossed that one off the list. Okay, now I have a cleaner home that I'm more happy with. Let's go to the next one. And you start slowly building and chipping away and working towards that ideal day. And this isn't an easy fix, right? This is something that you have to choose to work for it, right? You have to choose to make that change. And it's difficult. There's a lot of things that are challenging. I hear a lot of people want to wake up and have a morning routine. Whereas if you're like me and you weren't crazy about waking up early, that's a big shift in your routine. So I had to do it in little increments where I slowly built a morning routine where now I'm able to wake up early, and I cut out drinking and all this stuff, so which helped me to sleep better, which helped me to wake up earlier. It's all a domino effect. It's pretty amazing, you know.
Yeah. And
So,
you know,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, when you start finding those things that really drive you, getting out of bed no longer becomes an issue. You know, I was at one point like exactly what you're describing. You know, and I started to, you know, once I started to find my passion and what was driving me, I found that was one of the things that was making me want to jump up out of bed and start the day as soon as possible. And it took time. I mean, I had to even implement things like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Mel Robbins talk about her 5 second rule about, you know, don't wait. Those 5 seconds you count, you know, 1001, 1002, and you're up and at it, and just start moving it forward. So I've done a lot of those things, and you know, I can just tell from my experience and what you're literally talking about. I've been down that path, you know, and it kind of some point in you kind of at some point just get lost in it. You until you actually come to the realization, and like you did, where I don't want this life anymore. This is not what I want to. This is not what I want to do. This is not the thing that's going to drive me. So that's, you know, again, I tell people all the time, and this is why I do this show, so that people who possibly are in that kind of situation right now, what if they take a glance and they come on here and they hear you talking about that and they go, you know what, that's me. I'm living that life right now. You know, so, you know, what are some of the steps that you would recommend to somebody who's kind of just coming into that enlightenment and that awakening moment of saying, you know, I don't want this life anymore? What are some of the ideas or resources or things that you can kind of, I don't know, recommend to somebody who wants to get into that sort of change and start enacting action into their lives?
Oh, that's a great question, because there's so many things to do, you know. And it's like a spider web. It all intertwines within each other. But I think one of the first things is figuring out what you're passionate about again. And because I don't know about you, but when I turned the corner to adulthood, I dropped all of my creativity, all of my hobbies that I had, all of my silly things that I would do that for example, painting. People told me, Glenda, you can never make a career out of painting. You can, you know, why are you a painting? Why are you a painter? That's what 5-year-olds do. And when I did this exercise of remembering what are things that I get lost in, what are things that I can do for hours and hours and hours, and I look up at the clock and think, oh my gosh, it's been 3 or 4 hours. You know, like what are those things that make time disappear because you're so involved in it and you love it? And so what I do is I tell my clients to think back to, what did they enjoy as a child? What were things that they did as a child, and writing those down. And is that something that you can explore again? Like maybe you used to play an instrument, or maybe you did some kind of creative art, or maybe you wanted to be a comedian and you just haven't gotten on stage because whatever reason, someone told you were introvert and that you can't do it. Introverts can absolutely be on stage.
Yeah,
I'm an introvert and I get on stage all the time.
Right.
So yeah, finding those simple joys and putting them back into your life. And the main objection that I get from people is, well, Glenda, I don't have time. And here's the thing, is that whenever you say, I don't have time, I encourage you to change that by saying, what am I not prioritizing? Or I am not prioritizing this. Because whenever we say, I don't have time for this, that means you're not prioritizing it. And that's okay not to prioritize your hobbies, but if you want to bring joy, genuine joy back into your life, you need to figure out those things that aren't TV, that doesn't have to do with, you don't have to drink every single time to have fun. You don't have to, all these things that our culture is really pushing on us, that find the things that truly bring you joy. And I tend to move towards the creative aspects, but there's so many different, like reading. I mean, I know a lot of adults that stopped reading because they don't have time, but it's integrating it back into your life, even if it's 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. I mean, I had to schedule in bringing painting back into my life, and I would work on it 10 minutes a day, and then I'd get up and go do something else. But now it's more natural for me to just sit down and use that as a stress reliever.
Yeah, so you can actually essentially go back and reincorporate these things into your life. And same thing with me. I kind of was along the same boat and said, you know what, I can't, and I'm not finding the time to read, but I still want to take in information. So for me, it was looking for, again, alternative methods, trying to be as resourceful as possible. And that's where I said, you know what, I started listening to Audible. I go, books read to me while I'm doing my job, which is driving. So I can take in all this wealth of information, listen to all these wonderful speakers, listen to all these wonderful works that people have read and created over time that are essentially, people call them masterpieces, that sort of thing. I'm able to take them in, a day, 2 days, in 3 days tops, taking in a whole audiobook. It's so wonderful, and it's helped me learn and develop just listening. So yeah, I understand. I did the same things. I stepped away from a lot of things once I leapt into adulthood, because again, I got caught up in the intoxication of money. I go, oh wow, I'm starting to make a lot of money now. Awesome. Or now I can go start accumulating junk.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Stuff that you think about now, you go, oh my God, why did I even, because again, it doesn't, at this point, it just doesn't add any value to your life. And, even like Kenneth, my friend Kenneth, and he says, he found his passion years ago, science. He's still doing it for 39 years now, still loving it. So that's awesome. That's why I said, when these people find these things early on in life and they're able to pursue it so much, it's amazing the results they create and the things that they love sharing. Even I had on a, David says, keep it simple. Yeah, KISS. It's pretty much, that's how it goes. And then, but even like the young lady I had on last night, she was 18 years old, and she's getting out into the world and wanted to start sharing her message, wanted to start kind of like doing career coaching, life coaching, and building a community, and doing it at such a young age. And she said she's real passionate about it. And I told her, if you're passionate about it and you're doing it at that young of an age, then yes, I say go into it. Go spend the rest of your time learning and developing and going out and teaching people. If you stick with this, can you imagine what you'll be in 10 years? At such a young age, and the wealth of knowledge and experience. And don't let people deter you just because they tell you, "Oh, you're so young. What kind of experience do you have?" I go, you know what? Don't take that. That's because someone else's opinion of you doesn't have to become your reality. So it's kind of one of the things that I was, telling her, is that when you're faced with these things, just remember about all the amazing things that people have created at such a young age. One of the ones I just told her, of course, was that was recently in the news a couple months before COVID-19 hit, was Greta Thunberg. She was the young 16-year-old woman who was involved in the environmental movement and talking about the, oh God, why is it slipping my it is going out of my mind right now, but
It's okay.
yeah. So, but again, she was on the cover of Time magazine, talking about how she is an environmentalist and how she's out there, sharing her voice and standing up for Mother Earth, and how, it was her call to action and it was her passion that drove her to do that at such a young age, at 16. So I was telling her last night, just don't sway from your course just because you're gonna get a lot of people who are gonna give you a lot of blowback because you're so young. Here's the problem: if they had done these things themselves at such a young age, they would probably be one of those people who are your cheerleaders and go, "Yay, go do this, go follow it with all your age shouldn't be an issue." If you're doing what you love, what does it matter? Musicians do this all the time. Gymnasts do this all the time. They're going out and accomplishing great things, winning gold medals and stuff at the age of like 15 and 16, and it doesn't make them any less just because of their age. So I tell that to her, and even like David, he's been a chef since he was 14.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, if you follow that passion early on in life, and yes, thank you, David. It's a lifesaver. Climate change, right? So that was one of the issues that she was talking about. Yeah, I froze. That was me trying to figure out what to say. Yeah. So again, thank you, and thank you everybody for helping me out there. It slipped. It was the top of mind, but it just slipped my mind there. But again, here she is fighting for climate change. Here she is being a voice at 16 and being this person who's really incredible. So it doesn't matter if you're incredible at 16 or you're incredible at 86. As long as you get out there and you are passionate about what you want to share and what you want to do with the rest of your life. So, it's always awe-inspiring to hear, and even like what you're doing as well. Here you are, you're traveling, of course, because of what's going on. But again, it'll all go away, and those are the plans going forward, is to go back out there on the road and follow what you love doing, and follow what your heart is driving you to do. People find that and they go, you know what? I want that too. Somebody somewhere is going, I love the fact that this is what they do together, her and her husband. And why can't I be doing this? And it's pretty simple. So guys, if you're not connected with Glenda, you can follow her on a lot of her social media. I'll pull them up in the comments after the show's over, but you can follow her on, it is on Facebook, and I believe it's at, at Facebook, it is the
Status Quo.
Still on Facebook.
Yeah. And if they go to my website, I have all those socials on there. Yeah. I'm big on Instagram, TikTok. If you just put in Glenda Hoon Russell, you'll find me.
So there you go, guys. So just wanted to say hi. Thank you, David, for saying hi, jumping on. Thank you so much, everybody.
Hi,
so, but I think it's more important about the fact that, you can help people find their voice, help them along their journeys. Because again, there's some people right now that are in this pandemic right now who are feeling lost and hopeless and going, what am I going to do? What does life have in store for me? If this is all that life has to offer, I might as well kind of, end it. And I tell people, no, you got to find, every one of us has a voice. Somebody's there to help. So I tell everybody all the time, reach out to the people that I have on my show. A lot of them have spent a lot of their times, and they're willing to share their stories and experiences, and possibly help you, discover what you're supposed to be and what are some of the passions. Again, because each of us is different. Each of us has, yes, our DNA makeup is essentially the same, but we have the unique ability to like what we like and share what we want to share, and become who we want to become. So one of the questions that I do ask all my guests that come on the show, and it is kind of a tad bit morbid, I say, but I kind of preface it before I ask. So I say, once the book is done on you and life has gone away, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what are some of the things that you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually love talking about death.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. One of my talks that I give is all about death and how we perceive it. And the way that I approach it is I actually have in my meditation practice, I remind myself every single day that I'm going to die. And people usually are like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And the reason is that when I remind myself that my life is finite, that puts me in the driver's seat to remember that every single day I have the opportunity to make the best of it, to make the best day possible. Because if tomorrow is not promised, if an hour from now, an asteroid could hit my little Airbnb house, or or
Right.
I could get in a car wreck, or I could get COVID and not have a ventilator, whatever, right? These things happen. And when I remind myself that I'm going to die, it's a reminder, a positive reminder that I have been given this beautiful gift of life, and I need to use it right now. And that doesn't mean that I have to be on a beach and celebrating and, that it has to be a happy moment, but it means having gratitude for the littlest things, finding contentment in how life is right now, instead of dreaming and always thinking about the future and where I want to be instead of where I am.
Yeah.
And coming back to that present moment is so powerful, because I'm actually living and appreciating my life, and I'm spending way more time with not just my family, but with myself, like becoming my own friend. And this is something I dive into in my book, is that our culture doesn't encourage loving yourself. And as cheesy as that sounds, it's the truth that when you finally learn to accept yourself and to love yourself, everything changes. And it's such a powerful movement that I want everyone to be talking about loving themselves, because if everyone loved themselves this much, we wouldn't be fighting on social media and putting each other down, and there wouldn't be as much hate in this world, because what I believe is that all of this hate is a reflection of how people feel about themselves on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're hating on each other.
Yes.
And self-love, and of course, finding your relationship with your higher power, whether that's God or Allah or whatever route you take. But that is a path to freedom to me, is finding that love in yourself and in a higher power.
Yeah. And again, exactly to the point of what you're talking about, I think it's because we have a lot of people don't want to pay attention to their own insecurities. So, these are things that, if you bring them to the surface, if you mention it to them, they know that instead of it being a strength, they see it as their weakness. So they're going to go be defensive, and they're going to throw all the hate and hard and terrible things that they're going to say because they're insecure with what they are, instead of saying, you know what, I am sensitive. So what?
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's part of my superpowers, me being able to be emotional.
Right.
I'm sorry, I just wear my emotions on my sleeve. I'm that person. Hello. So, yeah, awesome answer.
Wow.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's awesome that you do a whole talk on death. It's an important topic,
It is.
because again, it is just as much a part of the circle of life as us being born. You know, we are, for most of us, we are celebrated when we're brought into the world, and you know, same sort of deal. That cycle is going to end at some point. You know, I don't know anybody who's become immortal. Not even if you believe in Jesus Christ. Not even Jesus Christ was immortal on earth. Yes, he is spiritually. Yes, he has carried on. Yes, his word is still there. But again, his body, his flesh, all disappeared. You know, so if he didn't, then what makes you think anybody else is going to be that same thing? So awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule, out of your day, to come on and have a conversation with me, Glenda. So
thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. So guys, go check out her website, and that is at www. You can see it down on the low comments below. There it is. Let's see for this. There it is right there. thestatusfo.com, everybody. So go check it out, right?
There it is.
You know, and then she is having her book coming out pretty soon, and a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. She also does workshops. So reach out to Glenda and connect. And again, if you guys are looking for, you know, somebody to kind of help you walk through life and kind of help you discover your journey, your path, let Glenda help you. So awesome. Thank you so much. And then again, just a few more comments before we go. Yes, life is Kenneth Dunham. Man, you're always so funny. And then David said he's following you now.
Guys.
So thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for following on the show, guys. Do me a favor, go follow Glenda. If you have not, check her out on all her social media web pages, on her platforms. Connect with her there, reach out, send a direct message. And, you know, you can email her through her website. And again, look out for her book for you coming up here in the next couple of months. So thank you so much. Thank you for the time. And guys, that's going to do it for this evening. I will get into tomorrow's guest. There's been a kind of up in the air sort of deal. I'm not quite 100% sure, but I will let you guys know tomorrow. But if it is, Kai Torrance is going to be my guest tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. And she's going to be talking about how she's been doing healing through yoga for a lot of other people. So I love the fact that, you know, that people out there, again, sharing interesting stories and doing things to help people find their passion, find their voice, and find healing sometimes. And that's awesome that she's doing that. So she'll be here 7 o'clock. Hopefully, fingers crossed. She had an emergency going on, but again, I have to throw that out there. If not, it'll just be me flying solo, which is no problem. I can talk for an hour and not even be worried about it. So thank you, Roger. Thank you, everybody who's followed along on the show this evening. Nothing but love for all of you. And then thank you, Glenda, for coming on. And just hold tight. I would like to have a few words with you afterwards. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow tonight, 7 o'clock. You know where to find me, all the social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hey, we're all here. So have a good evening. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We'll all get through this together. And, you know, again, life is beautiful. Just remember that, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.